And factor by grouping involves the following steps. Right, usually you'll factor by grouping if you have 4 distinct terms, especially if those terms have no like terms. So ideally you look to see, can you combine any like terms and factor another method first? If not, if you wind up with 4 separate terms, look to group your first pair of terms together and group your second pair of terms. Okay, once you do that, you're going to remove common factors from each individual group. Okay, so we're going to work separately with the first group and the second group. Okay, so if we look at this first pair of terms, what common factors can we remove? A 3 and a x squared. Okay, when we remove those two, whatever's left is going to have the same form as this original. So the original is one group minus another group. So when we remove a 3x squared, we should be left with something minus something else. Okay, what's left in this first term after we remove both a 3 and an x squared? Just an x. And what's left in the second group when we remove a 3x squared? A 2. Okay, so we factored this first pair of terms independently. Okay, next we're going to factor the second pair of terms independently. Okay, so when we look at this, whatever sign is between this second and third term is always going to come out. So a plus. And then what common factor can we remove from a 5x minus 10? 5. So there's our common factor. When we remove a 5, it's going to have the same form as the original, which is one group minus another. Okay, so what's left in our first term? Just the x. And what's left in our second term when we remove the 5? Minus 2. Now, if you've done this correctly, what you should notice is you'll have usually a binomial factor when we're looking at this. And you're going to treat this whole thing as a set of factors, and you're going to remove the common binomial factor. Okay, so if you look at these remaining factors, we have 2 sets of factors here. The common one between them is this binomial factor of x minus 2, which means when we remove that, whatever's left is going to have the same form as this original, which was one group plus another group. Well, in this original, what's left when we remove an x minus 2 from this first group of factors? 3x squared. And what's left from this second group of factors when we remove an x minus 2? Plus 5. Okay, and so that becomes your fully factored forms after you remove that. Now, usually the way I'll speak of this, or when I describe this, I'll remove our common factor of x minus 2, and then whatever remains will form my second factor. So 3x squared plus 5 is what would remain.